The NFL playoffs are finally upon us, so let's create our ESPN playoff bracket. As we can see, here's the bracket. It kicks off on Saturday. There are some huge games for this wild card weekend, but let's start it off with the Texans and the Chargers. The Texans are the 4 seed and the Chargers are the 5 seed. Obviously, the Texans with home field advantage because they won the AFC South. This game has a very close spread, as we can see right here at +3. And the over-under is sitting at 42.5. I think this game is going to be very, very close. But I think the Chargers are just the way better team. I am also not a huge believer in DeMeco Ryans at all, and I do not think he's a great coach. I think Harbaugh will prevail here, and I do think it will be a very, very gritty game. On to the next game, though, is the Steelers versus the Ravens, and the odds are sitting at -9.5 for Baltimore, sitting at home, and the over-under is 43.5. I don't think this game will be that close at all. I think the Ravens win this game by at least a touchdown. I think the Ravens are the way better team. Pittsburgh does this every single year where they get this wild card spot and end up losing. The next game is the Bills versus the Broncos, the 2 versus 7 seed. And we have seen this many times in the past. The 7 seed can almost never compete with the 2 seed. I think the Bills have way too much firepower for the Broncos, as we can see by the spread right here, sitting at 8.5 for the Bills, and the over-under sitting at 47.5. I think the Bills absolutely dominate the Broncos here. I like a final score of 31-14. Even though the Broncos have had a very solid season, I don't think they're that good of a team. The Bengals and the Broncos losing both those games is pretty rough. And the Bills have been pretty hot, even though they lost to that Rams team. Give me the Bills to move on against the Broncos. I want to hear your guys' score predictions for this game. I do see a lot of people calling for the Broncos upset, even though I don't see it. Let's move on to the NFC, though. We have the Rams and the Vikings. This game has been moved from Los Angeles to Arizona due to the wildfires. Super sorry about that, if that is affecting anybody. And the Rams are sitting at +3, and the over-under is sitting at 47.5. With the Rams not having as much home field advantage, you'd think this would affect them a lot. But frankly, I don't think this Vikings team is that good. We just saw them get absolutely blown out against the Detroit Lions. And I think Sam Darnold is probably the worst quarterback in the entire playoffs. The Rams, on the other hand, have been pretty hot as of recently, winning 4 out of their last 5, including some huge wins over the Bills, San Francisco 49ers, and the Arizona Cardinals. Let's not forget, too, these teams have already played once this season on Thursday Night Football in Week 8, where the Rams ended up winning that game at home by 10. I think McVay is one of the better coaches in the league, and I like the Rams to prevail here. Comment down below if you agree with this take. Do you think the Rams are going to beat the Vikings? I know it's not a very popular pick, as a lot of people like this Vikings team. But let's move on to the next game, the Commanders versus the Buccaneers. This game is going to get very weird. The Buccaneers are sitting at home here as 3-point favorites, and the over-under is very high at 50.5. But the Commanders are scorching hot, winning 5 out of their last 5 matchups. But I'm not a big fan of this Commanders team. I don't think Jane Daniels is that great of a quarterback just yet. And the Buccaneers, in my opinion, are one of the most consistent, solid teams in the league, winning 4 out of their last 5 games, including a blowout win over the Los Angeles Chargers. Also, let's not forget, these teams have already played once this season, where the Buccaneers absolutely blew the top off the Washington Commanders, winning 37-20. I think the Bucs at home are way too solid. Give us the Buccaneers to move past the Commanders in round 1 of the playoffs. Once again, comment down below your score prediction. But let's move on to the next game here, the Packers versus the Eagles. And this game is going to get very, very weird. This line has been fluctuating all over the place as it opened at 3.5 and has moved to 5. But let's take a look at the Packers' last 5 games. This may be a reason why. They are 2-3 in their last 5 games, and they lost against 2 playoff teams with the Vikings and the Detroit Lions. But this Packers team is really reminding me of the team last year that barely sneaked into the playoffs and walked into Dallas. And let's not forget, these teams have already played once this season on a neutral field, and the Eagles won 34-29. But give me the Packers in a huge upset. I like the Packers to move past the Eagles here. Comment down below your score prediction. On to the next game of the divisional round. We have the Chiefs and the Chargers, 2 divisional opponents, and this game will obviously be played in Arrowhead. These teams have played twice before because they're in the same division. The first game went 17-10 to the Chiefs, And the Nets game, 19-17 to the Chiefs. Both very, very close games. But gives the Chiefs to move on, obviously. I do not think the Chargers are going to walk into Arrowhead and win this playoff game. The Chiefs have way too much experience, and they are at home. The next game, the Bills versus the Ravens, in my opinion, the two best teams in the AFC. This game is going to be very tight, but I think the Bills being at home is going to prevail them to victory. Give us the Bills at home. We've seen what Lamar can do in the playoffs. Not much. I like Josh Allen this year. I think he moves on with his team. The Nets games, the Lions and the Packers. Obviously, the Lions and the Packers play twice a year as well. But I think this Lions team has way too much firepower for this Detroit team. Give us the Lions to move on to the next round of the playoffs. In our Nets game, we have the Buccaneers and the Rams, the 3 versus 4 seed. I think this is going to be a battle of coaching, and I think McVay is the way better coach, and that is why the NFC Championship will be the Lions versus the Rams, Stafford versus old team, and Jared Goff versus his old team. But I think the Lions, once again, have too much firepower on their side. I like the Lions to move on to the Super Bowl. Dan Campbell finally gets to his Super Bowl. Chiefs-Bills in the AFC Championship. We've seen this way too many times before. And we've seen these teams already play once this season. In Buffalo, the Bills win this game 30-21. And I think this is going to happen again. I like the Bills to move on to the Super Bowl. Bills, Lions in the Super Bowl. Two of the best teams in the whole NFL this season. But I think this game is going to be very, very close. I like the Bills to host the Lombardi Trophy 28-24. Comment down below your score predictions and comment down below your Super Bowl prediction. Thanks for watching. Peace out, guys.